The more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. This realization is not a limitation, but an invitation to keep exploring and expanding your understanding. Socrates. How to speak any language in 6 months, the secret formula for rapid mastery. Written and published by Listen Grow Sleep. Introduction. The one fact to make you question what you thought you knew. What if I told you that everything you know about learning languages is wrong? Yes, I said it. And guess what? It's not your fault. Schools, textbooks, and grammar drills have been feeding you a lie. A big, fat, slow-moving lie. And it's making your brain work way harder than it has to. But what if I told you that people are learning languages faster than ever, without classrooms, without flashcards, and without spending years memorizing useless rules? Because they actually are, believe me. And you're about to learn how. But first, let's play a game. Imagine you're in Spain. Someone asks you for directions in Spanish. What do? A. Panic. B. Recite random words you remember from Duolingo. C. Confidently respond in perfect Spanish because your brain just gets it. If you picked A or B, congratulations. You're like 99% of people who think language learning is hard. But if you picked C, you've unlocked the secret. And that secret is, your brain is built to learn languages, just not the way you've been taught. Hold up, let's rewind. For thousands of years, humans have been learning languages naturally, by listening, copying, and repeating. No textbooks, no grammar charts, no memorizing lists of words you'll never use. And yet, when schools teach languages, they throw all of that out the window and force you to learn in the slowest, most unnatural way possible. No wonder students fall asleep in class. I was definitely one of those students. That's like teaching a baby to walk by giving them a PowerPoint presentation on leg muscles, which makes zero sense. So here's the truth. You can learn any language in just 6 months if you do it the right way. How? Well, that's where things get really interesting. Let me explain. Chapter 1. The language learning paradox. Why traditional methods are failing you. Your brain has only 2 modes for learning languages, conscious and unconscious. That's it. 2 modes, like a light switch. But guess which one your brain actually prefers? Yes, unconscious. Because thinking is hard, and your brain is just naturally lazy. Have you ever noticed how kids pick up languages like it's no big deal? How immigrants can become fluent in months while students struggle for years? How some people can speak 5 languages while others can barely order a coffee? That's not luck. That's just how your brain works. Your brain is designed to learn languages through immersion and interaction, not textbooks, not flashcards, not sitting in a classroom reciting verb conjugations until your soul leaves your body. It's the same system that helped your ancestors communicate with different groups of people so they could trade, make alliances, or just not get eaten by a bear. But here's the problem. Modern language learning blocks this system completely. Schools force you to learn grammar first, then they hand you a giant vocabulary list. Then they tell you to practice alone, repeating words into the void like some kind of language learning ghost. And then, 3 years later, when someone actually speaks to you in that language, your brain malfunctions. Because 95% of language learning happens unconsciously, through listening, repeating, and real conversations, which means only 5% should be conscious study. 5%. So if you've been grinding away at flashcards for hours, you might as well be trying to learn how to swim by reading a book about water. But what happens when you actually use a language in real life? Your brain freaks out, in a good way. It's like flipping a switch. Suddenly, words stick, sentences flow, conversations make sense. Because your brain isn't trying to study the language, it's trying to survive in it. And this is why some people learn languages effortlessly, while others struggle for years. Which brings me to a good friend of mine, Sarah. Sarah was smart, ambitious, dedicated. She spent 3 years studying Spanish, but every time she tried to speak, she froze, overthought, got nervous, convinced herself she needed more grammar, more vocabulary, more time. Classic brain sabotage. So I gave her a challenge. No more memorization, no more perfection, just talk. 6 months later, fluent, same brain, same intelligence, completely different approach. This is the language learning paradox. The more you try to learn a language, the harder it gets. But the moment you stop fighting your brain's natural system, boom, fluency happens. So now, ask yourself, what language have I been trying to learn forever? Why am I stuck at intermediate instead of pushing for fluency? What's the one thing I keep postponing because I'm waiting to feel ready? Comment down below and let me hear your answers. Figure that out, because once you do, your brain will take care of the rest. Oh, I almost forgot. Before we get into chapter 2, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated and help this channel grow. Okay, now back to the book. Sorry about that. Chapter 2, The 5 Principles, Your Brain's Natural Language Learning System. Your brain is hiding a secret from you. It has a built-in language learning system, and it runs on exactly 5 principles. Attention, meaning, relevance, memory. Status sounds fancy, but it's really just how your brain survives. Let me show you. Imagine you're walking in a forest. You see some weird little marks on a tree. You don't care. You keep walking. 50 meters later, you see another one. Kind of weird. Another 50 meters and hold on. What is that? Your brain just activated learning mode because something is different, something is relevant, something might be important. Congratulations, you just hacked your brain's natural learning system. And this is exactly how your brain wants to learn languages. Let's break it down. Principle number 1, attention. Your brain is naturally lazy. It ignores 99% of information. But the moment something matters, it snaps to attention. Like how you can be in a crowded room, tuning everything out, but the second someone says your name, boom, you hear it. So if you want to learn a language, you have to trick your brain into caring. Principle number 2, meaning. Your brain doesn't care about words. It cares about what they mean. This is why kids learn languages so fast. They don't memorize grammar, they just figure out what people are saying and why. When I was learning Mandarin, I didn't start with textbooks. I started by watching people's faces, their gestures, their tone. The words came later, of course, but the meaning came first. Principle number 3, relevance. Your brain only learns what helps you survive. Back in the day, that meant remembering which berries were poisonous. Today, it means remembering how to order coffee in Spanish or whatever language. So if your language learning isn't connected to your real life, your brain will delete it. Principle number 4, memory. Memory isn't about storage, it's about retrieval. If you have to think about a word, you don't really know it. You don't remember how to say hello in your native language. You just say it. That's what fluency feels like. Principle number 5, state. Your brain has 2 settings, happy and learning, stressed and forgetting. When you're anxious, your brain literally blocks learning. When you're relaxed and curious, it absorbs information like a sponge. So if learning a language feels stressful, your brain is fighting you. But what happens when you use these 5 principles I previously stated on purpose? Well, there's a guy named Michael I went to school with, and he found out the hard way. He was a software engineer, needed to learn Japanese for work, spent years with textbooks, nothing stuck. So we flipped the script. Attention, we focused only on words he actually needed. Meaning, every phrase had a real-world context. Relevance, everything connected to his job. Memory, we built vivid mental images for new words. State, we made it fun, no stress, no perfectionism. 6 months later, he messages me on Facebook and says he is now leading technical meetings in Japanese. This isn't magic, it's just how your brain works. But here's the shocking truth. Most language learning methods ignore these principles completely. They force you to memorize random words. They make you anxious about making mistakes. They turn a natural process into homework. So the next time you sit down to learn a language, ask yourself, am I working with my brain or against it? Because if you get this right, Fluency isn't a struggle. It's just what happens. Chapter 3. The 7 Actions, Your Path to Rapid Language Mastery. Your brain has a secret language learning cheat code. It's not about textbooks. It's not about memorization. It's about 7 simple actions that turn your brain into a language learning machine. Listen, understand, mix, core, toolbox, face, connect. These aren't just random words. They're the 7 actions that helped me learn Mandarin in 6 months. And they'll do the same for you. Let's break them down. Action number 1, listen a lot. Your brain is like a sponge, but only if you let it soak. You didn't learn your first language by reading grammar books. You learned it by hearing it over and over and over again. When I first arrived in China a few years back for a fun visit, I didn't know a single word of Mandarin. So I sat in a train dining car for 8 hours straight, just listening. 2 weeks later, I was understanding bits of conversation without even trying, because my brain had been absorbing patterns the whole time. Action number 2, get the meaning first. Your brain hates memorizing words, but it loves understanding meaning. Think about a baby. They don't learn dog by memorizing a definition. They see a fluffy creature. They hear people say dog. They connect the dots. Language learning is just connecting dots. Action number 3, start mixing. You don't need thousands of words. With just 10 verbs, 10 nouns, and 10 adjectives, you can make 1,000 different sentences. That's the secret. You don't learn a language by collecting words. You learn it by playing with the ones you already know. Action number 4, focus on the core. Every language has a tiny set of words that do most of the work. In English, just 1,000 words cover 85% of daily conversation. So instead of learning obscure words like squid ink pasta, start with hello, want, and where. Because fluency isn't knowing every word, it's knowing the right words. Action number 5, get a language parent. This is not a real parent. Do not steal a child. A language parent is someone who tries to understand you, never corrects your mistakes, speaks with simple, clear words. Because the fastest way to learn isn't studying, it's talking to someone who wants you to succeed. Action number 6, copy the face. Your face has 43 muscles that make sounds, which means every language is also a face workout. If you don't believe me, try speaking French without moving your lips. Congratulations, you just sounded ridiculous. Copying native speakers' faces trains your brain to make the right sounds. Action number 7, direct connect. This is the final piece. And it's the biggest hack of all. Stop translating words in your head. Instead, connect new words directly to their meaning. Example, when you hear gato in Spanish, don't think cat, picture a cat. Because thinking in another language isn't magic, it's just skipping the middleman. What happens when you put all these actions together? Let's talk about Emma, who was a marketing executive, needed to learn Spanish, tried apps, tried textbooks, failed like the other 2 friends of mine I mentioned in the previous chapters. So we flipped the script. She listened to Spanish every day. She focused on meaning, not words. She mixed and matched simple sentences. She learned the most useful words first. She found a language exchange partner. She copied native speakers' pronunciation. She made direct mental connections. 6 months later, she was leading marketing meetings in Spanish. Her situations sound familiar. What a coincidence. It's amazing how far learning languages can take you. Not just hi, how are you conversations. Full discussions on consumer behavior and market strategy. This isn't a language learning method, it's how your brain already works. But here's the shocking truth. Most people never learn a language because they're too busy trying to do it the wrong way. They memorize rules, they stress about mistakes, they ignore the way their brain actually learns. Don't do that. Instead, ask yourself, which of these 7 actions feels natural to me? Which one feels hardest? Where have I seen these actions already working in your life? Because awareness is just the beginning of your language learning journey. Chapter 4. The Personalized Learning System, Your Path to Fluency. Imagine this. You're standing on the edge of a massive ocean, waves crashing all around. Some waves are calm, gentle, barely touching your toes. Others, powerful, sending water flying everywhere. This ocean is your language learning journey, and just like the waves, your path to fluency will be unique. Meet David. When I first met him, he was convinced he was bad at languages, tried everything, apps, classes, tutors. All of them ended the same way: frustration, disappointment, and eventually giving up. But here's the twist. David wasn't bad at languages. He was just trying to learn the wrong way. Then, one evening, in a quiet cafe, I asked him a question. When do you feel most alive? His face lit up. When I'm playing music, he said. I lose track of time just playing my guitar, experimenting with sounds and rhythms. Boom. That was the moment everything changed. Instead of forcing him into the standard language methods, we created a system that worked with his natural strengths. We turned language learning into a musical journey. David started by learning the rhythm of Spanish, listening to Spanish music, not just to understand the words, but to feel the flow, the cadence, the emotion. Weeks later, he wasn't just learning Spanish, he was feeling it, living it. It wasn't just words anymore, it was his language. That, my friends, is what I call the personalized learning system. It's not about following someone else's path. It's about finding your path, your way of connecting with language. Here's how it works. Phase 1, discovery. This is where you figure out how you learn best. Are you a visual learner? Do you see pictures in your head when you hear words? An auditory learner? Do you get lost in sounds and rhythms? A kinesthetic learner? Do you need movement to understand things? Phase 2, integration. Once you know how you learn, you use that knowledge to supercharge your language learning. Visual learners turn words into vivid mental images. Auditory learners focus on the music of the language. Kinesthetic learners act it out, move with the language. Phase 3, evolution. This is where your system grows with you. As you get better, your needs change. Your system should evolve. Language learning doesn't stop at fluency, it's a lifetime journey. Here's the secret. When you design your system around your strengths, learning becomes effortless. It becomes joyful. It becomes you. Now let me tell you about Maria. She was a corporate executive who had to learn French for a promotion, but she had one problem. She was stuck using outdated, boring methods that didn't tap into her true strengths. Maria was a natural storyteller. She could captivate a whole room with her words. But when it came to French, she was stuck. So we built a personalized system around her storytelling ability. She didn't memorize words. She didn't study grammar. She learned French through stories. Simple scenarios. Ordering coffee, asking for directions, chatting about the weather. She turned them into stories. And guess what happened? 6 months later, Maria wasn't just speaking French. She was telling stories in French. She was connecting with people through emotion, using her natural ability to create fluency in French. This is the power of the personalized learning system. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's about discovering your true learning style and crafting a system that works for you. So before we go any further, I want you to ask yourself, when do you feel most engaged? When do you feel like you're in your element? What activities make you lose track of time? Become aware of your natural learning style, because awareness is step 1 to transforming your language learning journey. And trust me, once you know your path, change is inevitable. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Chapter 5, the immersion experience, living your target language. Close your eyes. Imagine you're in the middle of a bustling market. The air smells like street food. The sounds are a mix of chatter and laughter, and the energy of the day is alive all around you. You're not just learning a language, you're living it. This is the immersion experience. It's not about moving to another country, it's about bringing that country to you. It's about creating a space where your target language is not just something you study, but something you live. Let me tell you about James. He was trying to learn German. Textbooks, apps, tutors, all the tools. But something was missing. German just felt distant, foreign, disconnected from his daily life. Then one day I asked him, "What's your morning routine?" He described it. Wake up, make coffee, check emails, get ready for work. A typical morning, done without a second thought. That's when the magic happened. We didn't change his routine, we just added German to it. His morning coffee became der Kaffee. His email check became die Email. His work prep became die Arbeit. But we didn't stop there. We transformed his home into a German environment. His phone settings, German. His favorite TV shows, German with English subtitles. His music playlist, all German artists. Even his kitchen, German labels on everything. Within weeks, German wasn't just a language James was learning. It was a language he was living. He wasn't studying vocabulary anymore. He was experiencing it. That, my friends, is the power of the immersion experience. It's about making your target language real, relevant, and meaningful in your daily life. Now, here are the 3 levels of immersion. Physical environment. Surround yourself with the language in your space. Change your phone's language. Put labels on everything in your house. Watch TV shows and movies in your target language. It's simple but powerful. Social environment. Create opportunities to speak the language. Language exchange partners, conversation groups, talking to yourself. Whatever it takes. Just use it. Mental environment. This is the big one. Change your internal dialogue. Start thinking in the language. Dream in the language. Make it live inside your head. Here's the kicker. You don't have to move across the world to do this. You can create your own immersion experience right where you are, right now. Let me tell you about Lisa. She was a college student, desperate to learn Japanese. But she didn't have the resources to travel to Japan. So she did the next best thing. She created her own Japanese immersion experience. Her dorm room turned into a mini Japan. She found Japanese conversation partners online. She started thinking in Japanese during her daily life, ordering food, texting, even just walking to class. 6 months later, Lisa wasn't just speaking Japanese, she was living Japanese. She had created a world where Japanese was part of her everyday life. This is the power of the immersion experience. It's not about where you are, it's about how you engage with the language. It's about making the language a living, breathing part of your life. So, now I want you to ask yourself, how can you bring your target language into your daily life? What little changes can you make today to create your own immersion experience? What parts of your life can become opportunities for learning? Get clear on your answers, because awareness is the first step toward change. And trust me, once you're aware, change is inevitable. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Chapter 6. The momentum effect, how small actions create big results. Imagine you're standing at the base of a mountain. The peak seems impossibly far away, shrouded in clouds. The path ahead looks steep, winding, and endless. This is how many people feel when they start learning a language, overwhelmed by the enormity of the task ahead. But here's what most people don't realize. You don't need to climb the entire mountain at once. You just need to take the first step, and then another, and then another. Let me tell you about Alex. When I first met him, he was stuck in what I call the intermediate plateau. He had been studying Italian for 2 years, but his progress had stalled. He could understand basic conversations, but he couldn't express himself fluently. He was frustrated, discouraged, and ready to give up. One morning, I asked Alex a simple question. What's the smallest action you could take today to move forward? He thought for a moment. Maybe listen to an Italian podcast for 5 minutes. That's perfect, I said. But here's the catch. You have to do it every day. No exceptions, no excuses, just 5 minutes. Alex agreed. He started small. 5 minutes of listening each morning while making coffee. That's it. No pressure, no expectations, just 5 minutes. But something remarkable happened. After a week, those 5 minutes became 10. After 2 weeks, they became 15. After a month, Alex was listening for 30 minutes each morning. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. This is what I call the momentum effect. It's the powerful force that turns small, consistent actions into unstoppable progress. It's the same force that helped Alex break through his plateau and achieve fluency in Italian within 6 months. Let me share the 3 keys to creating and maintaining momentum. First, there's the micro-commitment. This is about making your daily actions so small that they're impossible to fail. 5 minutes of listening, 1 new word, 1 short conversation. The key is consistency, not quantity. Second, there's the streak effect. This is the psychological power of maintaining an unbroken chain of daily actions. When you see that streak growing, day after day, week after week, it creates a powerful motivation to keep going. Third, there's the chain reaction. This is where small actions start to build upon each other, creating exponential growth. 1 word leads to a sentence. 1 sentence leads to a conversation. 1 conversation leads to confidence. Here's a powerful example of the momentum effect in action. Sarah was a busy executive who wanted to learn Mandarin. She had tried traditional methods before, but her schedule was too packed. She felt like she needed hours of study each day to make progress. When we started working together, I asked her to commit to just one thing, listening to Mandarin during her morning shower. That's it. No textbooks, no flashcards, just listening while she got ready for the day. At first, it seemed too simple to make a difference, but within weeks, something amazing happened. Sarah started recognizing words and phrases. She began humming along to the sounds. She found herself thinking in Mandarin during her commute. The result? In 6 months, Sarah was conducting business meetings in Mandarin, not because she had spent hours studying, because she had created unstoppable momentum through small, consistent actions. This is the power of the momentum effect. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's about understanding that language learning is a journey, not a destination. And the best way to complete any journey is to take it 1 step at a time. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to overcome the most common obstacles in language learning. I'll guide you through the process of turning setbacks into stepping stones and challenges into opportunities. But first, I want you to become aware of your current momentum. Let me ask you, what's the smallest action you could take today to move forward? What's one thing you could do consistently, no matter how busy you are? What's your first step on this journey? Get clear on your answer, because awareness is always the first step toward change. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Chapter 7, The Obstacle Course, Turning Challenges into Opportunities. Picture this. You're running through an obstacle course. There are walls to climb, ropes to swing from, mud pits to navigate. Each obstacle seems impossible at first, but as you approach it, you find a way through. And with each obstacle you overcome, you grow stronger, more confident, more capable. This is exactly how language learning works. The obstacles aren't there to stop you, they're there to make you stronger. Let me tell you about Mark. When I first met him, he was facing what he called the pronunciation wall. He was learning French, but he couldn't get past his accent. Every time he spoke, he felt self-conscious. Every conversation was a battle with his own voice. One day, I asked Mark a simple question. What's the worst that could happen if you mispronounce a word? He thought for a moment. People might laugh, he said. They might not understand me. They might think I'm not serious about learning. That's true, I said. But here's what's also true. Every native speaker you meet has mispronounced words in their own language. Every great speaker started as a beginner. Every accent tells a story. That was the moment everything changed for Mark. Instead of seeing his accent as a weakness, he started seeing it as part of his journey. Instead of avoiding conversations, he embraced them. Instead of fearing mistakes, he learned from them. Within months, something remarkable happened. Mark's French improved dramatically, not because he had mastered pronunciation, but because he had mastered his mindset. He had turned his biggest obstacle into his greatest strength. This is what I call the obstacle course. It's not about avoiding challenges, it's about embracing them. It's about understanding that every obstacle is an opportunity to grow. Let me share the 3 most common obstacles in language learning and how to overcome them. First, there's the fear of mistakes. This is the voice that tells you to wait until you're perfect before speaking. The key to overcoming this fear is to reframe mistakes as learning opportunities. Every error is a chance to improve. Every correction is a gift. Second, there's the time crunch. This is the belief that you need hours of study each day to make progress. The solution? Focus on quality over quantity. 15 minutes of focused practice is more valuable than hours of distracted study. Third, there's the motivation dip. This is the point where the initial excitement fades and progress seems slow. The way through? Create a system that makes learning enjoyable. Find ways to connect the language to your passions and interests. Here's a powerful example of turning obstacles into opportunities. Emma was learning Spanish for her dream job in international development, but she kept hitting what she called the grammar wall. Every time she tried to speak, she would freeze, worrying about getting the grammar right. When we started working together, I asked Emma to try something different. Instead of focusing on grammar rules, we focused on communication. Instead of worrying about being perfect, we focused on being understood. The result? In 6 months, Emma was working in Spanish-speaking communities, building relationships and making a difference. Not because she had mastered grammar, because she had mastered the art of communication. This is the power of the obstacle course. It's not about avoiding challenges, it's about embracing them. It's about understanding that every obstacle is an opportunity to grow stronger, more confident, more capable. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to create your own personalized language learning system. I'll guide you through the process of combining all these principles and strategies into a plan that works specifically for you. But first, I want you to become aware of your current obstacles. Let me ask you, what's the biggest obstacle you're facing in your language learning? How could you reframe it as an opportunity? What's one small step you could take today to overcome it? Get clear on your answer. Because awareness is always the first step toward change, and change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Chapter 8, The Identity Shift, Becoming a Language Speaker. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself standing in front of a mirror. But this isn't just any mirror. It's a mirror that reflects not just your appearance, but your identity. Who do you see? Are you someone who is learning a language, or are you someone who speaks that language? This distinction might seem subtle, but it's everything. Let me tell you about Sophia. When I first met her, she had been learning Spanish for 5 years. 5 years of classes, 5 years of textbooks, 5 years of saying, I'm still learning. But despite all that time and effort, she still couldn't hold a basic conversation. One day, I asked Sophia a simple but powerful question. When someone asks if you speak Spanish, what do you say? She hesitated. I usually say, I'm learning Spanish, or I know some Spanish. That's the problem, I said. You're identifying as someone who's learning, not someone who speaks. And your brain believes what you tell it. That was the moment everything changed for Sophia. We didn't change her study methods. We didn't add more vocabulary. We changed her identity. Instead of saying, I'm learning Spanish, she started saying, I speak Spanish. Instead of thinking of herself as a student, she started thinking of herself as a speaker. Instead of waiting for perfection, she started embracing progress. The result? Within months, Sophia was having fluent conversations in Spanish, not because she had learned more words or grammar, because she had changed how she saw herself. This is what I call the identity shift. It's the moment when you stop identifying as someone who's learning a language and start identifying as someone who speaks it. Let me share the 3 stages of this shift. First, there's the awareness stage. This is where you become conscious of how you're identifying yourself. Are you a learner or a speaker? Are you studying or using the language? Second, there's the decision stage. This is where you make a conscious choice to identify as a speaker. You decide that you're not just learning the language, you're speaking it. You're not just studying, you're communicating. Third, there's the integration stage. This is where your new identity becomes natural. You don't have to think about it anymore. You just are a speaker of that language. Here's a powerful example of the identity shift in action. David was a businessman who needed to learn Mandarin for his work in China. He had all the right tools and resources, but he was stuck in what he called the intermediate trap. He could understand a lot, but he couldn't express himself fluently. When we started working together, we focused on his identity. Instead of thinking of himself as someone who was learning Mandarin, he started thinking of himself as someone who spoke Mandarin. He changed his email signature to include fluent in Mandarin. He introduced himself in Mandarin at meetings. He started thinking in Mandarin during his daily activities. The result? In 6 months, David wasn't just speaking Mandarin, he was living as a Mandarin speaker. He wasn't just learning the language, he was being the language. This is the power of the identity shift. It's not about what you know, it's about who you are. It's about changing your self-perception from someone who's learning to someone who's speaking. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to create your own identity shift. I'll guide you through the process of transforming how you see yourself and how others see you as a language speaker. But first, I want you to become aware of your current identity. Let me ask you, how do you identify yourself when it comes to your target language? Are you a learner or a speaker? What would change if you started identifying as a speaker today? Get clear on your answer, because awareness is always the first step toward change. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Chapter 9, the flow state, finding your language learning zone. Picture this. You're completely absorbed in a conversation in your target language. Time seems to slow down. Words flow effortlessly. You're not thinking about grammar or vocabulary, you're just communicating. You're in what athletes call the zone, what musicians call the groove, what I call the flow state. This isn't just a nice feeling, it's a powerful learning tool. Let me tell you about Michael. When I first met him, he was struggling with Russian. He had all the right methods, all the right resources, but something was missing. His learning felt forced, mechanical, disconnected. One evening, as we sat in a quiet cafe, I asked Michael a simple question. When was the last time you lost track of time while learning Russian? He thought for a moment. I don't think I ever have, he said. I'm always aware of how long I'm studying, how many words I'm learning, how much progress I'm making. That was the key. That was the moment everything changed. Instead of focusing on metrics and progress, we focused on finding Michael's flow state. We discovered that he loved cooking, so we started incorporating Russian into his cooking routine. He would follow Russian recipes, watch Russian cooking shows, even talk to himself in Russian while preparing meals. Within weeks, something remarkable happened. Michael wasn't just learning Russian, he was flowing with it. He wasn't just studying, he was experiencing. He wasn't just memorizing, he was living. This is what I call the flow state. It's that magical place where learning becomes effortless, where time disappears, where you're completely absorbed in the language. Let me share the 3 elements that create this state. First, there's the challenge-skill balance. This is where the difficulty of the task matches your current ability. Not too easy, not too hard, just right. Second, there's the clear goals element. This is about knowing exactly what you're trying to achieve in each moment. Not vague goals like get better at Spanish, but specific goals like understand this conversation or express this idea. Third, there's the immediate feedback aspect. This is about getting constant, clear feedback on your progress. Not waiting for test results or teacher evaluations, but getting real-time feedback from conversations and interactions. Here's a powerful example of the flow state in action. Emma was learning Japanese for her dream of living in Tokyo. She had tried traditional methods, but they felt like work, not play. When we discovered her love for anime, everything changed. Instead of forcing herself to study, she started watching anime in Japanese with Japanese subtitles. She wasn't just watching, she was immersing herself in the language, the culture, the story. Time would fly by, and she wouldn't even realize she was learning. The result? In 6 months, Emma wasn't just speaking Japanese, she was flowing with it. She wasn't just learning the language, she was living it through her passion. This is the power of the flow state. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's about finding that sweet spot where learning becomes effortless, where time disappears, where you're completely absorbed in the language. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to create your own flow state. I'll guide you through the process of finding activities that naturally put you in the zone and using them to accelerate your language learning. But first, I want you to become aware of your potential flow states. Let me ask you, what activities make you lose track of time? What passions could you connect to your language learning? When do you feel most in the zone? Get clear on your answer, because awareness is always the first step toward change. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Chapter 10. The Connection Principle, Language as a Bridge to People. Imagine standing on one side of a vast canyon. On the other side are people, cultures, experiences waiting to be discovered. The language you're learning isn't just a set of words and rules. It's the bridge that connects you to that other side. This is what I call the connection principle. It's the understanding that language isn't just about communication, it's about connection. Let me tell you about James. When I first met him, he was learning Arabic for his work in the Middle East. He had mastered the grammar, memorized the vocabulary, even perfected his pronunciation. But something was missing. He could speak Arabic, but he couldn't connect with Arabic speakers. One day, I asked James a simple question. When was the last time you had a meaningful conversation with an Arabic speaker about something other than language or work? He thought for a moment. I don't think I ever have, he said. I'm always focused on getting the language right, on being professional, on making a good impression. That was the key. That was the moment everything changed. Instead of focusing on perfect language, we focused on authentic connection. James started having coffee with local colleagues, not to practice Arabic, but to get to know them as people. He started asking about their families, their dreams, their challenges. He started sharing his own stories, his own experiences, his own humanity. Within months, something remarkable happened. James wasn't just speaking Arabic, he was connecting through Arabic. He wasn't just communicating, he was building relationships. He wasn't just learning a language, he was bridging cultures. This is what I call the connection principle. It's the understanding that language is a tool for building bridges between people, for creating understanding, for fostering relationships. Let me share the 3 levels of connection. First, there's the personal connection. This is about connecting with individuals, building relationships, creating bonds. It's about seeing people as people, not just as language practice partners. Second, there's the cultural connection. This is about understanding the culture behind the language, the values, the traditions, the way of life. It's about seeing the world through different eyes. Third, there's the human connection. This is about recognizing our shared humanity, our common hopes and dreams, our universal experiences. It's about seeing beyond differences to find what unites us. Here's a powerful example of the connection principle in action. Maria was learning Korean for her love of K-pop. She had mastered the language basics, but she wanted more. She wanted to understand the culture, the people, the heart behind the music. Instead of just studying the language, she started connecting with Korean fans online. She joined fan communities, participated in discussions, shared her love for the music. She wasn't just learning Korean, she was becoming part of a community. The result? In 6 months, Maria wasn't just speaking Korean, she was connecting through Korean. She wasn't just learning the language, she was living the culture. She wasn't just a fan, she was part of a global family. This is the power of the connection principle. It's not about perfect language, it's about authentic connection. It's about using language as a bridge to people, to cultures, to understanding. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to apply the connection principle in your own life. I'll guide you through the process of building meaningful connections through language and using those connections to accelerate your learning. But first, I want you to become aware of your potential connections. Let me ask you, who could you connect with through your target language? What cultural aspects interest you? How could you use language to build bridges? Get clear on your answer, because awareness is always the first step toward change. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Chapter 11, The Legacy Effect, Creating a Life of Language Mastery. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself years from now, looking back on your language learning journey. What do you see? What have you accomplished? What impact have you made? What legacy have you created? This is what I call the legacy effect. It's the understanding that language learning isn't just about the present, it's about the future. It's about creating a legacy that extends beyond yourself. Let me tell you about Robert. When I first met him, he was learning Mandarin for his business in China. He had all the right goals, all the right plans, but something was missing. His learning felt transactional, temporary, disconnected from anything larger than himself. One day, I asked Robert a simple but profound question. How do you want to be remembered in the Chinese business community? He thought for a moment. I want to be remembered as someone who bridged cultures, who built understanding, who created opportunities for others. That was the key. That was the moment everything changed. Instead of focusing just on business language, Robert started focusing on building relationships. He mentored young Chinese entrepreneurs. He supported cultural exchange programs. He used his language skills to create opportunities for others. Within months, something remarkable happened. Robert wasn't just speaking Mandarin, he was creating a legacy through Mandarin. He wasn't just learning the language, he was using it to make a difference. This is what I call the legacy effect. It's the understanding that language learning is about more than just communication. It's about contribution. It's about using your language skills to create something that lasts. Let me share the 3 dimensions of legacy. First, there's the personal legacy. This is about how your language skills enrich your own life, your relationships, your experiences. It's about the person you become through language learning. Second, there's the professional legacy. This is about how your language skills create opportunities, build bridges, make an impact in your work. It's about the difference you make through language. Third, there's the global legacy. This is about how your language skills contribute to understanding, to connection, to peace in the world. It's about the larger impact you can make. Here's a powerful example of the legacy effect in action. Sarah was learning Spanish for her work in international development. She had mastered the language, but she wanted more. She wanted to use her skills to make a lasting difference. Instead of just using Spanish for work, she started teaching English to Spanish-speaking communities. She created language exchange programs. She mentored young people who wanted to learn English. She wasn't just speaking Spanish, she was creating opportunities through Spanish. The result? In 6 months, Sarah wasn't just using Spanish, she was creating a legacy through Spanish. She wasn't just learning the language, she was using it to change lives. She wasn't just a language learner, she was a bridge builder. This is the power of the legacy effect. It's not about what you get from language learning, it's about what you give through it. It's about creating something that lasts, that makes a difference, that leaves a mark. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to create your own legacy through language learning. I'll guide you through the process of identifying your unique contribution and using your language skills to make it happen. But first, I want you to become aware of your potential legacy. Let me ask you, how do you want to be remembered in relation to your target language? What difference could you make through language? What legacy do you want to create? Get clear on your answer, because awareness is always the first step toward change. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Chapter 12, The Mastery Mindset, Your Path to Language Fluency. Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a vast ocean. The waves crash against the shore, each one different from the last. Some are gentle, lapping at your feet. Others are powerful, sending spray high into the air. This ocean is your language learning journey, and just like the waves, Your path to fluency will be uniquely yours. But here's what most people don't realize. The ocean isn't just a metaphor, it's a mirror. It reflects back to you exactly what you put into it, your mindset, your approach, your commitment. Let me tell you about Daniel. When I first met him, he was convinced he was bad at languages. He had tried everything, apps, classes, private tutors. Each attempt ended the same way: frustration, disappointment, and eventually giving up. But here's what Daniel didn't realize. He wasn't bad at languages. He was just approaching them with the wrong mindset. One evening, as we sat watching the sunset over that same ocean, I asked Daniel a simple question. What if you approach language learning like you approach your favorite hobby? His eyes lit up. When I'm playing guitar, I don't worry about making mistakes. I just play, I experiment, I have fun, I lose track of time. That was the key. That was the moment everything changed. Instead of forcing Daniel into traditional language learning methods, we created a system that worked with his natural strengths. We turned language learning into a musical journey. He started by learning the rhythm of his target language, Spanish. He listened to Spanish music, not just to understand the words, but to feel the flow, the cadence, the emotion. Within weeks, something remarkable happened. Daniel wasn't just learning Spanish, he was feeling it. The language wasn't just words on a page anymore, it was a living, breathing part of his musical soul. This is what I call the mastery mindset. It's not about following someone else's path, it's about discovering your path, your unique way of connecting with language. Let me share the 3 pillars of the mastery mindset. First, there's the growth mindset. This is the understanding that your abilities are not fixed. They can grow and develop with effort and practice. It's about seeing challenges as opportunities, mistakes as lessons, and feedback as a gift. Second, there's the abundance mindset. This is the belief that there's enough success, enough opportunity, enough growth for everyone. It's about celebrating others' progress, sharing resources, and building a community of learners. Third, there's the purpose mindset. This is about connecting your language learning to something larger than yourself. It's about understanding why you're learning this language and how it fits into your larger life goals. Here's a powerful example of the mastery mindset in action. Emma was a marketing executive who needed to learn French for a major promotion. Emma was a natural storyteller. She could captivate an entire room with her words. But when it came to learning French, she was stuck in traditional methods that didn't tap into her storytelling strength. When we created her personalized system, we focused on stories. She started by learning French through storytelling. She would take simple situations, ordering coffee, asking for directions, making small talk, and turn them into engaging stories. She would imagine herself in different scenarios, playing different roles, using different emotions. The result? In 6 months, Emma wasn't just speaking French. She was telling stories in French. She was connecting with people through stories in French. She was using her natural strength to create fluency. This is the power of the mastery mindset. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's about discovering how you learn best and creating a system that works with your natural strengths. In the next chapter, I'll show you how to create your own mastery mindset. I'll guide you through the process of discovering your natural learning style, integrating it into your language learning, and evolving it as you progress. But first, I want you to become aware of your current mindset. Let me ask you, how do you approach challenges in your life? What mindset do you bring to your favorite activities? How could you apply that same mindset to language learning? Get clear on your answer, because awareness is always the first step toward change. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Chapter 13, The Fluency Vision, Your Path to Mastery. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself years from now, looking back on your language learning journey. What do you see? What have you accomplished? What impact have you made? What legacy have you created? This is what I call the fluency vision. It's the understanding that language learning isn't just about the present, it's about the future. It's about creating a vision that extends beyond yourself. Let me tell you about Michael. When I first met him, he was learning Mandarin for his business in China. He had all the right goals, all the right plans, but something was missing. His learning felt transactional, temporary, disconnected from anything larger than himself. One day, I asked Michael a simple but profound question. How do you want to be remembered in the Chinese business community? He thought for a moment. I want to be remembered as someone who bridged cultures, who built understanding, who created opportunities for others. That was the key. That was the moment everything changed. Instead of focusing just on business language, Michael started focusing on building relationships. He mentored young Chinese entrepreneurs. He supported cultural exchange programs. He used his language skills to create opportunities for others. Within months, something remarkable happened. Michael wasn't just speaking Mandarin, he was creating a legacy through Mandarin. He wasn't just learning the language, he was using it to make a difference. This is what I call the fluency vision. It's the understanding that language learning is about more than just communication. It's about contribution. It's about using your language skills to create something that lasts. Let me share the 3 elements of creating a powerful fluency vision. First, there's the clarity element. This is about being crystal clear about what fluency means to you. Not what it means to others, not what society expects, but what it means to you. What does fluency look like in your life? What does it feel like? What does it enable you to do? Second, there's the connection element. This is about connecting your language learning to your larger life goals. How does fluency fit into your career, your relationships, your personal growth, your contribution to the world? Third, there's the commitment element. This is about making a conscious choice to pursue fluency, no matter what obstacles arise. It's about understanding that the path to fluency isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Here's a powerful example of the fluency vision in action. Sarah was learning Spanish for her work in international development. She had mastered the language, but she wanted more. She wanted to use her skills to make a lasting difference. Instead of just using Spanish for work, she started teaching English to Spanish-speaking communities. She created language exchange programs. She mentored young people who wanted to learn English. She wasn't just speaking Spanish, she was creating opportunities through Spanish. The result? In 6 months, Sarah wasn't just using Spanish, she was creating a legacy through Spanish. She wasn't just learning the language, she was using it to change lives. She wasn't just a language learner, she was a bridge builder. This is the power of the fluency vision. It's not about what you get from language learning, it's about what you give through it. It's about creating something that lasts, that makes a difference, that leaves a mark. Now, let me share the final piece of the puzzle, the bridge to fluency. The bridge to fluency is the path from where you are now to where you want to be. It's the series of steps, the daily actions, the consistent effort that turns your vision into reality. Let me share the 3 elements of building this bridge. First, there's the daily practice element. This is about showing up every day, no matter how you feel, no matter what obstacles arise. It's about understanding that consistency is more powerful than intensity. Second, there's the progress tracking element. This is about celebrating your wins, learning from your setbacks, and adjusting your approach based on what works for you. It's about understanding that progress isn't always linear, but it's always possible. Third, there's the community support element. This is about surrounding yourself with people who believe in your vision, who support your journey, who celebrate your progress. It's about understanding that you don't have to go it alone. Here's a powerful example of the bridge to fluency in action. David was a teacher who wanted to learn Spanish to better connect with his students' families. He had a clear vision. He wanted to conduct parent-teacher conferences in Spanish. He had a strong motivation. He wanted to create deeper connections with his students' families, but he was struggling with the daily practice. When we started working together, we created a simple but powerful system. David committed to 15 minutes of Spanish practice every morning, right after his coffee. He used a language learning app that tracked his progress and celebrated his wins. He joined a local language exchange group where he could practice with others and share his journey. The result? In 6 months, David was conducting parent-teacher conferences in Spanish. Not because he had spent hours studying, because he had built a bridge to fluency through small, consistent actions. This is the power of the bridge to fluency. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's about understanding that the path to fluency is built one step at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time. Now, let me ask you one final question. What's your fluency vision? What legacy do you want to create through language learning? What bridge will you build to make it happen? Get clear on your answer, because awareness is always the first step toward change. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Your journey to fluency begins now. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Feel the weight of this book in your hands, the knowledge it contains, the wisdom it shares, the transformation it promises. You've just completed a journey through the principles, strategies, and mindsets that can transform your language learning from a struggle into a natural, enjoyable process. You've discovered how to harness your brain's natural language acquisition system. You've learned how to create momentum through small, consistent actions. You've understood how to turn obstacles into opportunities. You've explored how to build meaningful connections through language. You've envisioned how to create a legacy that extends beyond yourself. But here's the truth. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning. The real work starts now. The real transformation happens when you take these principles, these strategies, these mindsets, and you apply them to your own life. When you create your own personalized language learning system. When you build your own bridge to fluency. Let me leave you with one final challenge. A 4-step process to begin your journey to fluency. Step 1. Awareness. Become aware of your current language learning approach. What's working? What's not? What's holding you back? What's pushing you forward? Step 2. Clarity. Get clear on your fluency vision. What does fluency mean to you? How will it transform your life? What legacy do you want to create? Step 3. Commitment. Make a conscious choice to pursue fluency, no matter what obstacles arise. Understand that the path won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. Step 4. Action. Take the first step, then the next, then the next. Build your bridge to fluency one day at a time, one moment at a time. Remember, your brain has only 2 modes for language learning, conscious and unconscious. And your brain prefers the unconscious mode, the natural mode, the effortless mode. By following the principles and strategies in this book, you're not just learning a language, you're awakening your brain's natural language acquisition system. You're tapping into the same system that helped you learn your first language as a child, the same system that's been lying dormant, waiting to be awakened. The journey to fluency isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's about understanding how your brain naturally learns languages and creating an environment that supports that natural learning process. So, my friend, your journey to fluency begins now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you're ready. Now take that first step, build that bridge, create that legacy, because the world is waiting for your voice, your perspective, your contribution. And fluency, my friend, is exactly what will help you share it with the world. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I can't wait to see where it takes you. Remember, awareness is always the first step toward change. And change, my friend, is exactly what we're here to create. Now go forth and speak your truth. The world is listening.